Hello and thank you for stopping by. Today I'm going to show you how to change the deck belt on the Snapper L200. I'm also going to show you the tools that I'm going to use to change this belt. I'm using an electric impact wrench, a 1/2 inch socket, and a 9/16 socket. If you don't have an impact wrench, you could get away with a breaker bar, a ratchet, and a socket. And for those of you that still have these speed wrenches laying around, use them. They move the job along quite quickly. And a pair of gloves. Now, as far as the impact wrench, I'm working outside right now, so rather than having to carry out a compressor all the way out here and using the mag tools, I just have to run an extension cord. And with the extension cord, I can work just about anywhere. If you're a DIYer and you don't use an impact wrench all that often, if you don't want to go for the convenience and the expense of a battery impact wrench, which they are smaller and a lot lighter, this electric one from Harbor Freight I have for over a year. I use it quite often, change truck tires with it and everything. No issue other than the weight and the size when you get into tight areas. But this isn't a tool review, this is a belt changing video. Now what I did, I lifted this tractor up on these two buckets. You want to be careful when you're working underneath. I have this concrete block under the deck, so these buckets should give. It's not going to come down too far. And it makes it easier for me to video this a little off the ground. I have to say, with the Snapper deck, it's got to be one of the easiest decks to change the belt on. I did buy a belt from Briggs & Stratton. I paid, I think, $72 with tax. The belt was about 1 3/4 inches too short. I thought it was a little too tight. I extended the spring way past where it should go, but they said this belt is the belt that fits. So I thought maybe the old belt was just stretched out a little bit. No way. It shredded this belt within 10 minutes of me using it. This bird dust here came off this belt. Okay, to get started, you want to have the right size belt. One, if you prefer, is to raise the tractor. Second is to lower the deck. Next, you want to remove these bolts holding the cover on. The other side is the same situation. Once I get these bolts off, I'll show you what we have. You will also need a 1/2 inch wrench. There's this bolt that holds the spring on, but it also has a bolt holding this plate on here. And on the other side, there's a bolt that's inward that you won't be able to get the impact wrench on. Just roll this off. I can't believe how this shredded, even being that tight. Well, clean this up a little bit here. Most of what you see here is from that deck. All that deck material. Just a little tip. When you're changing your belt, check your spindles. Make sure they're spinning freely. They're not locked up or they're stuck. They're not making any grounding sound. This one here won't spin now because I have this concrete block and the blade's in the block. But spin them all, make sure they're okay. There's times you may have to change the bearings in them, or you just might have to grease them. They might require just a little bit of grease, but that's another video. So now to get this belt on, like I said, this is one of the easiest belts to replace. If I can get this camera set up. Well, bear with me just for a minute here. I want to get this pulley on the other side. Let's start on the far side. Reaching over. Okay. And if you never did this before, you'll see that the belt has sort of a V shape and a flat side to it. This pulley here is where the flat side would go. This pulley over here is where the V part would get into it. See? So it comes around like this. And I have no way to hold this camera. And this spring comes up this way. Now you see this will be in the way for the belt. I'm not going to take this bolt out. So what I'm going to do is just loosen this bolt so I could cock this pulley and get the belt in there. You could do it without doing that, but you would have to wait. Oh, this one actually fits in. All right. The belt that burned up was a thick belt, and I had to loosen that up to get it in. But if it's not going to twist the belt or burn it somehow, you could just as easily do it like this. So this will come this way. This belt happens to be thin enough to come under this guide. The belt that I just took off was thick. I had to loosen this nut, like I mentioned before, so I could cock this pulley and get the belt in there. Now, you want to make sure it's on the pulley on the far end. It's into this pulley over here with the V. The flat side of the pulley is against the flat here. The V shape of the belt is in the V pulley. And now this goes up to the drive. I need 2 hands for this. I got to put the camera down. What I'm going to do is just pull this lever over here with the spring. That'll get me the release I need to get up to that pulley. And once it's on, the spring will pull it back. Now, I don't know if I damaged the spring the other day because that other belt was so tight and I stretched it out. We'll see though. It looks like it's going back. And I believe if I put the deck up, we'll get a little bit more slack that way. I'll be right back. All right, what I ended up doing was taking the belt off this end pulley, sit it on the drive pulley, coming back to this one, pulling the spring upward to get the slack, then rolling it onto this one, and it made it easier to put on that way. Now I see it came off on the far end, so I'm going to have to take this off again. Hold on here. All right, what I did was to remove the belt from this pulley. I put it on this pulley over here. Then I came back, stretched out the spring, the lever right here, gave me enough slack to get the belt onto this pulley. Now generally you have guides that keep these belts from popping off. On this deck you have this one guide here. Depending on the thickness of your belt, you may or may not have to take it off, and this belt might be a little undersized. And there are guides in here. You can see this in here. There's like a little ridge here and a ridge there. So when you put this back on, when you get this back on, not only does it protect you from the belt, but it acts as a guide to keep the belt from jumping off. And there's one on the other side. Now, I don't know, this is tight, but it's not as tight as that other belt was. The other belt was from Briggs & Stratton itself. So I'm surprised I received the wrong belt. And I didn't miss the guides. You know, if you put the belt over these guides and you turn the deck on, you're going to shred it up like this. But I've seen belts get shredded, not being on the right side of the guide, look nothing like this. This wasn't even 5 minutes of runtime. I mean, I turned it on, I couldn't get over how it, and this was a thick, heavy-duty belt. Like I said, it was I think with tax, $72. I have to look it up. I don't want to exaggerate it. This was a lot less, but I could see the quality's less on this belt too. This is almost like an old fan belt from the cars. But you know what? For the difference in the price, and it actually fits, if I get a year, 2 years out of this belt, I'll just change it when I have to change it. I have the link for this belt down below in the description, and I also have it posted in my Amazon store. So feel free to browse through the store to see what you can find to help you with your repairs. I'm going to button this up right now, drop this mower down, start it up, and make sure this belt works the way it should. Okay, you won't believe it. As I was taking this mower off the ramps, I believe the drive belt broke. Anyway, this is what we're looking at here. Now this got a little wear over here. Okay, I let this run for a few minutes on and off camera. I couldn't drive it cutting the gas because the mower wasn't moving. Everything looks okay in here. I don't see where it's rubbing. I can see like right here, it's a little white. It's only been running for about 10 minutes. Seems on the top. It might be one of the pulleys maybe. Let's see. Let's see what I have. Okay, over here. The only thing I could figure, it's rubbing on top. Maybe over here where it's coming off this one. See where it's coming off? Let me put the deck down and see what it looks like. I put it to where I normally would, to the normal height to cut at. Let's see now. Yeah, it looks like if anything's a problem, get the camera in close. The other belt, I don't know how long it was in there. I got it with the other belt on and I cut the grass several times with it. The only thing I can see where it's rubbing, when it comes off this flat pulley here, it's right and close to the end, but that's just the way it's designed. And coming off the bottom here, it's rubbing on the bottom, but it's not turning white. It's just turning white on the top part. I looked at the pulleys on this side here. This side we're fine. So I don't know what it could be. Maybe that's just a normal wear. Well, if I cut the grass a couple times, we'll find out whether this is going to shred also. But this is a lot looser than the other belt. You can even do this to it. If you have any questions or comments, post them down below. If you enjoyed this video, found it useful, or know anybody else that might be able to use it, pass it along, give it a like. It helps tremendously. And if you need any products that you're going to buy online through Amazon, feel free to use my Amazon store. There isn't any additional cost to you, and it does help me tremendously. Thank you, and until next time, stay safe.